Hello, happy people. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today I thought it would be fun for the day and Saturday in which I dedicate to talking about the serials that are a lost genre from movie serials like Flash Gordon or The Adventures of Captain Marvel or Spider's Web, that sort of thing, all of which I've gone back and watched and reviewed for this channel, as well as some TV things too. And such. These are sort of a lost art that really sort of sold people and brought people into the seats and we're watching on TV over and over and over again. So I thought it would be fun to take a look at the next story in the Doctor Who calendar. This is the sequel to The Rescue, the fourth serial of the second series. Sorry, sixth season rather, of Doctor Who in the first Doctor era. For you folks, this is 65. As a reminder, my Doctor Who passion was very, very strong growing up, as well as through today, and so forth. I grew up in Southern West Virginia, and our PBS station would show at nights, Saturday, as well as during the week too, of various things in the Doctor Who genre. I first started with my first episode I ever saw was The Robots of Death by Tom Baker in the fourth Doctor era. I was born in '76. He was the Doctor, loved it lots. I thought the special effects were great too. Loved it lots. I loved the creepy ways of showing the robot eyes and that sort of thing. So I liked that. Thought it was really great stuff, and thought that the atmosphere, the aura stuff was really strong. So I started watching it, and then I finished him to his regeneration into the fifth Doctor in Legopolis, and then I started watching the fifth Doctor, and then the fifth Doctor became my favorite Doctor. Watched him all the way contemporaneously while it was being released all the way up through his death and regeneration in the Colin Baker, the sixth Doctor. And then I saw the first serial of the Doctors, and so first season rather of him, and then when it went on 18-month hiatus because of the ratings that we were doing on at the time, PBS just went to showing the black and white era, and instead, so I started seeing the first Doctor from an Unearthly Child on, and such. And the first Doctor became my favorite classic Doctor, and still is to this day. He's just such a strong entry into this, right? Love him lots. He left a gift to this, and so forth. So at that time, we're oftentimes in order to make that money from the PBS stations, they would show like Doctor Who telethons and such like that, or they would have Doctor Who showings at times in order to get money, right? And I still remember, one day, for example, watching a Who-a-thon, a telethon, and they were like, based on how much money you give us, we're going to choose which sixth Doctor serial we're going to do next. The Twin Dilemma or Vengeance on Vardas Ferry, folks, stuff like that, right? I remember that growing up. Doctor Who's my passion growing up. I read some of the books, the novelizations of like the Daleks and stuff like that, as well as just watching it and so on and forth. I was coming back to that instead of He-Man or G.I. Joe like my pals. And at college at WVU, West Virginia University, I actually ran a Who-a-thon as a resident assistant, and I thought it would be great to do that and so forth since I was in the honors college and such. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to sort of dial it in to those things. So I actually ran that too, and I went and rented a bunch of VHSs from our local thing and showed them. That was great. For an entire weekend, we stayed up. It was a 48-hour marathon. So that was good stuff too. Loved it lots. So there you are. So this is a four-parter farce comedy. It's a send-up and historical of the Roman era for folks, and it's set when Nero was emperor. So this stars again as the first Doctor, my favorite, William Hartnell, and then as Vicky, who this is our first full serial, Maureen O'Brien, not being introduced, coming in at the end of the last one. And so forth, and then as science teacher and the guy, oftentimes the action guy in the fighting scene, something like those two. And this one is Ian Chesterton, played by William Russell, and his historical teacher and context provider. For something like this, his history teacher, Barbara Wright, who is played by Jacqueline Hill, for Eva, and then also stars as Nera, Derek Francis, and as Tavius, among many others, is Michael Peake. It's produced by Verity Lambert. Once again, she's one of the youngest people to direct, to produce, and also the first female to produce Doctor Who. And when she started off Doctor Who previous season, in BBC drama history, it's directed by Christopher Barry and written by Dennis Spooner for you folks. It started with a strong 13 million viewers. Oftentimes, historicals would drop in historical context. This actually finishes with a strong 12 million, so it was a good hold for historicals. At the end of the rescue, the TARDIS fell off of a cliff, and we don't know what happens. So at the beginning of this one, we'll see that scene again. And then now that they've been taking off some time to relax, and that sort of a thing with Vicky and the Doctor head to Rome. And because they've been taking like more than a month off, they're getting really bored and want to explore there. And Barbara and Ian stay behind, but slave traders will then be captured. And Ian will be sent to work on a slave gallery after being sold, and Barbara's heading to Rome too. This was filmed at the same time as the previous two-parter Rescue to introduce Vicky, and this is now her fully in the thing. That one, the Rescue, was written by David Whitaker, the outgoing. He was the outgoing script editor, and this one was written by Dennis Spooner, who is the new script editor. He takes over here. And it's also directed by Christopher Barry, still like the Rescue was. And so it's good stuff. Love it lots. I think but my main issue here is that I just don't think the comedy bits work. And send off, they just don't work for me. I didn't laugh then when I watched it as a kid. I didn't laugh when I watched it again as a teen, right? And I don't watch it and I don't like it now. I don't laugh, I don't smile. I say, that's funny. Or, yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying, right? And that sort of a thing. I've seen it like 5 times now, and it just doesn't land with me, right? Sorry at all. And I'm typically somebody who loves British humor, but I just don't get this. This never worked for me, right? And so forth. I also feel like the sets in Rome, the ones that when they're in their estate back in the suburbs are fine, but I feel like the ones like the arena are a little underwhelming at times too. The BBC is supposed to be all about having these great historicals. That's what they're all about, right? And so forth. I just don't lush historical. I just don't feel like the arena really sort of put that to play, if you will, right? And so the acting, though, is very strong. And Derek Francis as Nero steals the show and such forth. Also, William Hartnell, the first Doctor, this is his favorite one. He really enjoyed his doing comedic acting rather than traditional drama acting. And sort of, TV overacting, because you have to sometimes overact in TV because you're on a smaller screen, right? So, this is his favorite serial that he acted in, and some other actors too, like Ian's, William Russell. So that acting, the great acting, particularly from Nero's, Derek Francis, is strong, and that gives it a 2. For folks, but that's not great. I know it's among my least favorite first Doctor serials. For those reasons, although again, people like doing it. And it had great ratings, so it was popular at the time, and it's popular among actors. So, what do I know? I'm not a film critic, I'm just a fan. Right? I'm not trained as a film critic and that sort of thing. So your mileage may vary, right? So without going into spoilers, other than, the setup in the first, 5 or 10 minutes that I talked about in the first episode, what are your thoughts about this? And do you agree or disagree with my 2 out of 10? Do you think it's a little better? Do you think it's a little worse? I'm following with you. I'm saying a bit, and again, remember, I'm not a trained film critic or anything like that, right? I'm not somebody who acts on the side and so forth. I'm not somebody who makes movies. I'm not somebody who produces them. I'm not somebody who writes them or TV shows in this case. It's your mileage may vary. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, right? Whatever your thoughts are and that sort of thing. But please keep it spoiler free. I know this is like more than 50 years ago, and 65, but you get the idea. Right, and that sort of a thing. I still think there's value in trying to keep this stuff new and fresh for the younger kids. They're going and watching it for the first time, right, and that sort of a thing. But there you are. So that's my thoughts on the Romans for you folks. And now next week, we're going to need to get back to my strong parts. We're going to do one of my favorite serials in the second season. Actually, my favorite serial in the second season. And my second favorite serial overall in Doctor Who. And sort of thing. So check that out. But there you are. Again, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. And then, if there's a lot of these sort of older things I like to do. Yesterday, I talked about why I don't think that horror films in the past few years are strong as horror films in the first 3 things. I got 3 reasons why. I also look at 3 films that I do like and 3 films that I don't like. Very contrasting, and then also I feel what I like just generally like a moody atmospheric piece that builds over time, and so forth. Just isn't right. But today's horror is all about splash and dash. It's whole thrills, chills, right? It's all about just coming in, getting blood and gore, turning off your brain. Sensationalism. Oh my gosh! Did you see how that person died? Whoa. And then you go home and then it's just not really something that you really care about, right? It doesn't engage your mentally, right? And so some of my favorite ones, I thought was fun too. So if you like that, if you think that idea would be great, check that out too on Friday, yesterday. And then I like to do and then on Wednesday I like to do older reviews, typically older reviews of video games. So I recently did 2 Point Museum. That's also in a British humor thing. A museum builder, and so forth. Last week, but yesterday, a couple days ago, I did my review of the older Night Magic 6. It's an RPG from the late 90s. A big swan song and a great swan song of a series that used to be great, but then after that, it sort of let it go. And then you will also have yesterday. Oh, that's on Thursday. My review of a Clark Ashton Smith older thing. On Sunday, I like to do older things and such. And then on Monday, I do reviews of older things. I just did Gary Gygax's studying. And then the G2 from 78, the module from Dungeons & Dragons. That sort of thing. And then I also just recently did, so I'll do G3 reviewed here in a little bit for you folks. And then finish up that series of older things in the RPG or wargaming community, like Battletech and that sort of thing. So if that's something that sounds like it would be fun for you for all these older things and so forth, particularly the older 3 videos that I do from fantasy, science fiction, and horror, then let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And then also, if you are enjoying those older ideas, just like I am, then that's probably because that's where the title of the channel comes from, right? It's my passion. And so forth, and that is the worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones, right? In this case, keeping us to read the older great stuff is great stuff that we might have lost or forgot about. All right, and there you are. I want to thank you so very, very much for taking some time out of your day and investing it in watching my videos, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening, right, in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions, right? So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling because we all have so many things happening in our lives, and I really do appreciate that. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.